To find the antiderivative of the x times cosine quadrupled of x squared minus sine of tripled of x squared dx, what you're going to do is you're going to first right away set u as equal to x squared. Well, I should use another color for this. U is x squared. Du is going to be 2x dx. Right, so as a result, what are we going to have? And why am I saying 2x dx? Notice that the 2x is similar to the x. We just need missing a 2. Since there will be a 2, there will be a half, right? Because the dx is going to be du over 2x, right? So that means we're going to need a half multiplying the integral in each of these cases of these two terms, right? So as a result, what are we going to have? We're going to have we can split this up, this integral. We can split it as x cosine tripled x squared dx minus x sine tripled x squared dx. So as you can see, using the U substitution, the du is 2x dx, so we're going to need then half in each case. Cosine tripled u du minus 1/2 sine tripled u du. Right? And then, of course, you're going to split in each case. You're going to split. So we're going to have the first integral. You're going to split it as 1 minus sine squared u times cosine of u du, and this is equivalent to cosine squared u. Right? This part. Cosine squared times the cosine gives you bingo, the original cosine tripled u. Right? I'm just going one step ahead, and then 1 minus 1/2, same thing. You're going to use sine squared, so you're going to use 1 minus cosine tripled u. I'm sorry, not cosine. 1 minus cosine squared u times the sine u du. Because again, this part, in this time, it's going to be sine squared u, accounting for 1 minus cosine squared u. Sine squared times the sine times one more factor of the sine gives you sine tripled u du. Right? Perfect. So now, as you can see, we can work this out. We're going to have lots of integrals, of course. The first integral is going to be 1/2 u. Well, 1/2. Well, 1/2. I'm going to write it down. 1/2 cosine. That's the first term. Minus 1/2 sine squared u cosine u, distributing the cosine, du, minus 1/2 sine u du, and then finally 2 minuses for the last term gives you a plus 1/2 cosine squared u sine u du. So this one is straightforward. It's going to give you 1/2 sine of u for the first antiderivative. And here, what type of substitution? You're going to v is equal to sine u. The rule of thumb is to use the variable for the squared, right? Because you're not going to use the v as the cosine, otherwise the du cannot be squared, right? So that's the rule of thumb. Whenever you see the sine squared and then the cosine, use the v substitution for the sine instead of the cosine. So dv is going to be cosine of u du. Perfect. That's exactly what you have. So this thing is going to be what? Negative 1/2 u, I'm sorry, not u, v squared dv. Right? And then this one, the antiderivative of sine, is going to be negative cosine. Negative times a negative is positive, right? Positive 1/2 cosine of u. And then here, the substitution, let's use a t substitution because we already had the v there. So t, and what is the rule of thumb again? The cosine is squared, so that's going to be the variable substitution, cosine of u. dt is going to be sine u du. Sine u du. So that's exactly what you have right here. Beautiful. So now you're going to have what? Plus 1/2 t squared, right? T squared dt. right? Because the dt is this part. So beautiful. So what are we going to have? Now keep in mind that we need to have a constant, right? Because we already have the antiderivatives here. So plus capital K constant. So now we're going to have 1/2 sine of what is the u variable in terms of x? That was x squared, right? So sine x squared minus 1/2 times, and this guy gets to be v to the third, and also divide by 3, right? So 1/3 multiplied. What is v? V is sine u, right? Sine to the third of u, right? What is u in terms of x? X squared. So let's do everything at the same time, like that, right? Plus 1/2 cosine of, what is u in terms of x? X squared, right? X squared. And then here we're going to get what? 1/2 times t to the third, and also divide by 3 using the power rule of the antiderivative, right? So 1/3 as a result. T to the third. What is t in terms of u? Cosine, right? So cosine tripled. Now let's substitute the u in terms of x, right? What is cosine tripled u in terms of x? Cosine of tripled of x squared. X squared plus c. And why? Because we had some antiderivatives that we took care of. That's why the constant changed, and we denote a different letter, right? The letter, that's the final letter that you always see in the answers, right? Because we don't have any more antiderivatives, and we got everything in terms of the original variable, right? But let's simplify because we need some work to be done. So 1/2 sine squared x minus 1/6, right? This is 6 sine cubed x squared plus 1/2 cosine of x squared minus 1/6, this is 6 again, cosine of cubed of x squared plus the constant, right? So this is the correct antiderivative for this problem. Thanks so much for watching. Hope this was helpful. See you in the next video.